What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to give my definitive rankings of the Knights in Gotham Knights. I'm very excited to do this video. Now, for full transparency, a couple things I want to say before I get into it. Number one, this is just my own list. I know I did a Twitter ranking. I put it on Twitter, and a lot of people agreed, and a lot of people very much disagreed, and our lists are exactly opposite. So I fully get people disagreeing. Ultimately, one of the things that's most important with this game and kind of special with this game is it goes based off your play style, and I could totally see people having the reverse list of mine. Secondly, I have not yet fully beaten the game, and I haven't fully upgraded and powered up everybody. So they're not maxed out. They don't have all the abilities, but they're definitely getting there, and I feel very good about where I'm at with these characters. I feel very good about how much I've played these characters and which ones are my preferred favorites. And final thing, this is based off of more than just their abilities and their fighting style. That is a huge part of it, but it also goes based off of their characters, their actual depth as characters, as well as how they get around the city. That's an important part as well. So without further ado, let's get into this with number 4. We're going to go worst to best, and my worst, or my least favorite, let's say, is Red Hood. Again, I've seen people put Red Hood at 1. I can get that, again, based off of play style. To me, Red Hood is just too slow when it comes to the combat. So if we're just talking about combat, I actually like his I like his heaviness in terms of his attacks. I don't love his heaviness in terms of moving around, dodging, evading, things like that. I do think his abilities are cool. I like his pistols. I think they're one of the more unique and cool, like far range attacks out of the 4 Knights. I really do like it. Yet again, all of them kind of are pretty special, but Red Hood is awesome. I mean, I do, when you play as Red Hood, in my opinion, you're playing as probably like one of the most different of any of these Knights. He just feels naturally very, very different. They all feel different from each other, but he feels the most different from anybody else. But I'm not in love with his fighting. To me, I get more frustrated, especially when I'm facing like higher crime difficulty, enemies. I tend to get more frustrated with him. He's just harder to play for me. Beyond just the combat, though, his mystical leap I like and I don't like. A lot of their like advanced, abilities of getting from point A to point B, a lot of them are very silly, and the mystical leap is also very silly. But I do think it's actually kind of like overpowered is probably not the right word, but if you can get to a high enough elevation point, you can just ride that thing for miles and miles and miles. So in terms of literally getting from point A to point B, it's one of, if not the easiest ways of doing it. So I will say, like, in that sense, I really do like it because it's just very easy to get to a location, but at the same time, I don't know, kind of silly overall. And then what really drags him down, I will take some shots here, the character himself of Red Hood, I just don't think is well done at all in this game. This is not like a review. I can talk about it in a full review, but in terms of what they go through as characters, Red Hood, it's like they just completely forgot to write a character for him. I'm just really not impressed whatsoever. He definitely seems like the fourth wheel in so many of the cutscenes in this game. When all the Knights are together, he seems like the least important. He gets like the least amount of dialogue. He has very limited character growth, so I can say that definitively. I don't think he's a great character that they've written for him in this game, but in terms of the fighting and stuff, he is pretty darn solid. Number 3, I'm going to put Robin. This is actually kind of shocking because Robin early on was my number 2. But as I've played it more and more, and as I've advanced them, gotten them better, I really think I got to put Nightwing at number 2. So that's how that's all going. I guess I just spoiled the rest of my list, but let's talk a little bit about Robin. So in terms of his fighting, I like his fighting a lot. I like his more approach to stealth. I actually really like his ability to take down like the elites, the bigger enemies with stealth, and that's an early thing, right? Again, the thing that makes all these Knights kind of special is what abilities. The momentum abilities obviously are pretty huge with them. What are their skill trees? They each have kind of different talents early on. Again, Robin's is generally his stealth-like abilities, and I really, really do like that. So Robin gets like an A for me in terms of the combat. You have to play him, I think, a little bit different, or you can play him a little bit different than everybody else. But I do like some of his momentum abilities overall. They're probably, I would say, Robin's momentum abilities are the least interesting, or I use them the least out of the 4 of them. And maybe it's based off of how much I play as them, but I do find I use them the least, and there's not as many cool ones, in my opinion, as others. But besides that, fine. In terms of what brings Robin down to Nightwing is how he gets from point A to point B. I was very, very vocal when this game was being shown off, like a long time ago, about the Justice League, the teleportation. And I always thought that was going to be something that really sucked and that was not going to really work. And for me, it really sucks and really doesn't work. Again, I get if it's not the same for you, but I think the teleportation, now, again, it's kind of a double-edged sword. On one side, it's actually the most overpowered thing in the entire of the 4, because you can literally get anywhere, right? You can go to the highest elevation the game allows you to go with Robin very easily. It's not even that difficult. So again, in order to get from point A to point B, Red Hood gets from point A to point B very fluidly, and that's why I kind of like it. Robin, it just breaks. It breaks, in my opinion, the fluidity of the game, because you're constantly stopping. It's pulling you out, and then you have to drag the cursor, wherever you want to go, and then let go, do it, and then press it again. I just really, really hate it. I've always kind of hated it. I wanted to give it a chance, and while I do think it's overpowered in the sense that it's the best one to get from point A to point B, it also breaks the immersion more than anything else. So I really got to dock points for that. And then in terms of his character, I think he's fine. He has some depth. He really mourns the loss of Batman throughout the game. And he's one. I would say he is the one that does that. Like, that's kind of his central role, to kind of miss Bruce the most. He also is obviously very, very smart. He puts things together quite well. So I don't love his character. Really, there's only one character of the 4 that I truly do love, but he's solid. He's not like Red Hood, where he doesn't have a character, again, in my opinion, but he's not like fantastic or anything. Then we move on to, again, number 2 has to be Nightwing. Again, kind of surprising, because going in, I was expecting Nightwing to be 3rd and then Robin to be 2nd. And I do think, again, early on in the game, Robin probably is 2nd, but as I've played it more and more, as I've gotten them all more, advanced, and again, unlocked some of their moves, put points into their abilities, I do really like Nightwing. So I kind of like him across the board. In terms of fighting, he's also just very cool to watch fight. I think he's probably the coolest in terms of his acrobatics, in terms of like his finishing moves. Now, I've played as Batgirl the most by a lot out of all of them, so I've really seen a lot of, if not all of Batgirl's moves that she can do, but I really like how Nightwing moves around. I like his finishers. I like just how he fights, like literally his moveset. They're very, very cool. His long-range attacks are solid. His momentum abilities are really, really fun. I just enjoy playing as him. And as the game has gone on, I enjoy playing as him more and more. It tends to be what I do, is I play the story stuff and the stuff that has a lot of actual story elements to it. I play that with Batgirl. And then if I'm just kind of like hanging out around town, I'll play as Nightwing or I'll play as Robin, but I actually lean more towards Nightwing. So that's kind of how I do my little breakdown there. In terms of how he gets from point A to point B, the glider. So I know a lot of people had a lot of issues with the glider when it was first shown. Again, silly. Yes, would I have preferred something different? Of course. But again, I actually kind of like it. It's solid across the board. It's in my opinion, not too silly. And also, it does a very good job of getting, again, from point A to point B. You can steer it. You can fly it. It doesn't really need much. Like Red Hood, you really need elevation to get, anywhere. Robin, I guess you can technically do literally whatever you want. So Nightwing is kind of in between, where you don't have to be too high off the ground in order to make it work, but you can, and it works really, really well. So I think across the board, his means of travel are pretty darn solid. And then his character is pretty darn solid. Again, I wouldn't say I love him as a character, but him being kind of like the leader, right? He kind of has embraced that role, or he feels like it's been passed off to him, so he kind of like needs to do it. I like that. I like that kind of struggle that he has. So I think he's an overall solid character. Again, nothing too special. But the thing that really gets him is I do just have a ton of fun watching and like watching as he's moving around as I guess I'm playing and playing as him. He's really, really fun to play. And that leaves, of course, at number 1, Batgirl. Now, again, is this bias? Of course, I would say probably, because from day one, I said I was going to main Batgirl, and I never changed my mind. I've changed the other 3's order, but I've never changed Batgirl at number 1. So I went in hoping and kind of expecting to like Batgirl quite a bit, expecting to play her quite a bit, and that's exactly what I did. And I do think she is the best. I love her moves, okay, and I love like watching her move around in a lot of the same ways as Nightwing. I think I still like watching Nightwing move around more, but Batgirl is just extremely fun to play. Her momentum abilities are incredible. I really, really love a lot of them. See, when it comes to even Nightwing or Robin, I think Red Hood's actually a little bit different. Robin and Nightwing, only certain momentum abilities do I end up using. Okay, do I end up actually using? Red Hood, I actually use a pretty okay amount. Batgirl, I use like all of them. I've really kind of embraced like, okay, I'm going to use this ability for this kind of scenario or situation. I'm going to use this one for something else. I love her drone. I love her. I love the Batarangs. I mean, just everything about her and those momentum abilities are really good. I also love her stealth capabilities. Now, Robin is more of like the stealthy-ish one, but Batgirl, not only more of like the hacker kind of thing, right? But also, if you upgrade her enough, you can walk through laser detections and cameras. You can just walk right through them and nothing happens. And I love that. And that makes certain parts of the game a lot easier where I just don't care and I just go right through them because I'm Batgirl. So I really, again, I've embraced that kind of element of her character, and I really, really like it. In terms of her getting from point A to point B, here's the thing. It's actually probably the worst. And I guess it's only the worst because I do think the other 3 allow you to do things easier. Batgirl's is easily the most like Arkham, and I do like that quite a bit. That's why it's still why she's number 1, because I enjoy like literally just gliding with her more than doing the rest of them at any point. Okay, I really do like just kind of grappling and then just gliding with the with the suit. I love that. But ultimately, you have to constantly, I find, you drop. Even if you do the nosedive and then pull up, you're not getting much elevation from that on the way back up. It's not like the Arkham games where you really probably could, especially Arkham Knight, right? You could stay in the air for so long. Maybe I'm just not good, but I do find you can't really do that with Batgirl. You have to kind of grapple at some point. You have to grapple again. Whereas with the other 3, like when you're in the air with Robin, you never have to touch the ground again when you're doing that teleportation, right? Because it's so overpowered. So for Batgirl, that's kind of the downside is, does it maybe look the coolest? Yes. Does it feel the coolest because of like the Arkham stuff? Yes. But it's actually the least, it's the least best of getting from point A to point B. I'd rather use any of the other 3 to get somewhere because it's easier with the other 3. So that's kind of an interesting thing there. And then in terms of character and personality, she easily wins. I mean, this is not, in my opinion, and again, like, yes, I've played her the most. I've played her in the story mission, so obviously I have a little bit more there. But I even find in just the cutscenes or her character arc, right, her character story, I think she is the best character. I like her voice actress the best. I think she's just like the best talent wise of the group of 4 of them, which is kind of odd because I know there's a lot of talent in those 4, but I think she does the best job at literally just giving out lines. I like her optimism. She's a very like optimistic kind of character. She's got like a spunk to her. She's got jokes to her. I like her. I think she's a really, she is the best character of those 4. You could argue Alfred, but I'm not, he doesn't obviously include it here. But yeah, so that's my list. Again, some of these things is kind of where I thought. I mean, I thought Red Hood would be last. I thought Batgirl would be first. I didn't know about the middle 2, but now I really will stick by this. Besides that Robin Nightwing switch, it's been pretty consistent for the last like 15, 20 hours I've played this game. So I feel pretty solid that it's going to stay that way as I finish the game and 100% it and all that stuff. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up, and I hope to see you all on the next one.